As this year comes to a close, maybe what you need isn't another resolution, but permission to set some things down and refocus. Today, we're reflecting on the triumphs and the hard moments of parenting, walking through a gentle reset and exploring how one intentional word for the year ahead can help you respond with calm, clarity, and connection even when those big emotions show up. So grab your notepad and let's chat. Ever feel like one meltdown turns your day upside down? Are you walking on eggshells with emotions and challenging behaviors? Need peace in your home? You're in the right place. I'm Jamie, mom of 7, professional counselor and parent coach. I've learned how to turn chaos into calm, stop meltdowns, and enjoy time as a family. If you're looking for effective tools, practical ways to connect with your uniquely wired child, and parenting tools that align with faith and family values, you've found it. So reheat that coffee, start that laundry fluffing again, and let's jump in. As we step into a new year, it's almost impossible to escape the conversation around those New Year's resolutions, whether you love them or hate them. But research shows that nearly 74% of adults plan to make some kind of change at the start of the year, with family life and self-improvement consistently ranking among the top goals. And yet, here's the part we don't talk about as often. Studies also show that most resolutions are abandoned within the first few weeks, often because people forget about them or feel overwhelmed by the pressure to do it perfectly. So if you've ever felt motivated in January and already discouraged by February, you're not alone. It's not a lack of desire, it's the structure that doesn't support real growth. Especially when you're parenting emotional dysregulation, challenging behaviors, and navigating those big emotions in your home. That's why today's episode isn't about piling on another goal or fixing everything at once. Instead, this is a new and refreshing way to reflect on the year you've lived, reset with intention, and choose a single word that can guide you forward with calm, clarity, and connection, and without the pressure of just another resolution. So let's think of this episode as a reset and not a restart. To help guide this reflection, I want to walk you through a simple framework with the acronym I'm calling RESET. Now, reset isn't a checklist or just some other productivity system. Rather, it's a gentle way to pause, take inventory, and move forward with intention, especially when you're parenting an emotionally dysregulated child and life already feels so packed full. Each letter of this acronym will invite us to slow down just enough to see clearly, let go of what's weighing us down, and choose a steadier path forward. We'll touch on each part briefly and then spend a little extra time talking about choosing a word for the year that can anchor everything else we're learning today. So let's start with R, reflect. This year held some of our family's hardest moments. And while I'd love to believe that having great tools guarantees smooth sailing, the truth is difficult seasons are still going to hit, even when we're doing all the right things. What those seasons require isn't perfection. Instead, they require steadiness. This year reminded me that I can only control myself, not my child, and not many of the circumstances surrounding us. And yes, I'll admit this year was harder than I expected it to be. Looking back now, I can clearly see why God placed the word steadfast on my heart when I chose that word at the end of last year. When the going got tough, I had to be tougher. I had to pull together with the rest of our family. We had to remain steadfast in what we knew to be true, continue advocating for our child's needs, and keep working on connection through it all. Yeah, there were many moments where I truly felt like I had reached my limits, and yet God continued to meet me there, carrying me through when I couldn't carry myself. Once we take the time to reflect honestly, the next step is to evaluate, not to judge ourselves, but to gently ask what actually helped us move toward calm and connection, and what quietly added more stress than support. So E is evaluate. This year, I had to become much more intentional about the strategies and approaches that truly strengthened my understanding, those strategies that were actually effective with our child. I couldn't get caught up in what I thought I should do, what others thought I should do, or even what worked for all the other kids. I had to focus on what helped me stay most effective in the moments we needed more calm, even if it didn't make sense to anyone else. And even when it didn't make sense to anyone else. One of the biggest reminders for me was this. In moments of emotional dysregulation, I had to remember that consequences can become further triggers. And no amount of being consistent with consequences was ever going to work, because no amount of consistency, if it's the wrong tool, will ever work. I also had to reframe how I viewed our struggles. Instead of seeing them as losing ground or starting over, I reminded myself that we were walking through things that we'd encountered before, and we had successfully navigated them before. We had made progress, and if we had done it once, we could do it again. And I could learn effective ways to teach skills or even apply consequences in the right way that they could be effective. But I had to learn those skills and strategies and reframe my thinking. Evaluating what works often leads to another important realization. Sometimes the next right step isn't a new strategy, but more support. S is support. This past summer was one of our toughest, and it required me to reach back out for supports we had needed before. Not because we were failing, not because we were losing ground, though I'll tell you this, it was easy to feel that way in my weaker moments, but because different seasons of parenting require different levels of support and guidance. I met again with a counselor who had helped me in the past to be reminded of how far we had come and to be reminded that we could do it again. We also got our son back into counseling so he could receive the support he needed, so he could remember that he had worked through similar things like this before, and even some harder things, so that he could realize he wasn't starting over or going backward. And it was interesting to hear him articulate that to his counselor. That unspoken fear, the one we were both carrying, was finally named. We feared we were going backwards. I'll tell you this, having another trusted professional involved helped me breathe a little easier. It reminded me that I wasn't carrying this alone. There were other eyes on him too, other voices that could help guide decisions when I needed that. Were there moments I tried to carry too much on my own? Absolutely. But I had to remind myself that even strong and steadfast, I'm tripping on my tongue today. I had to remind myself that even strong and steadfast people reach out for support. That too is strength. And I made it a priority to take care of myself so that I could show up as the best version of me for my child and family. One of the biggest lessons this year taught me is that even strong, steady parents need support. So before we continue, I want to share a brief message about a space I've created specifically for parents navigating emotional dysregulation, those big intense emotions, and challenging behaviors. We'll be right back after this. Parenting an emotionally intense child can feel complicated, like you're juggling meltdowns, defiance, and stress every single day. But it doesn't have to be that hard. Imagine this. The next time your child melts down, instead of spiraling into chaos, you know exactly how to respond with calm and confidence. Sounds good, right? Well, that's what the Calm Connection Parent Coaching Program is all about. In this program, I teach simple tools that you can use right in the moment. Tools that don't require hours of reading, expensive appointments, or complicated systems. I'll even show you ways to create calm in less time than it takes to reheat your coffee. Parenting with calm and confidence doesn't have to feel impossible. It can be easier than you think. Join me inside at calmconnectionparent.com and let's get you back on this parenting journey with calm, confidence, and connection. Welcome back. As we continue walking through Reset, the next step invites us to gently loosen our grip. And that's honestly one of the hardest parts sometimes. So E is for ease. This year, I became more aware of how much pressure I was carrying around the idea that doing it, quote unquote, right should mean my child's behavior would follow a logical and predictable path. And if I'm honest, I sometimes found myself believing that if I was parenting well enough, there wouldn't be any glitches. Do you ever catch yourself thinking like that? That way of thinking only led me toward more self-doubt, more discouragement, and constant second-guessing. What I'm learning to let go of is tying my self-worth to my child's behavior, because the truth is, I can't control that. I won't do this perfectly. I won't do it without mistakes. I won't always have the answers. And I'm ready to just realize and release the unrealistic expectations that quietly keep tripping me up, the pressure to do it all right. Instead, I want to embrace what God has for me in this season, even when it means growing, learning, and stretching along the way. I'm choosing to loosen my grip on the things I so desperately want to control and practice being more gracious and flexible, not only for myself, but so that I can model that same grace and flexibility that I want my child to learn too. Which leads us to T, trust. As we come to this final step of reset, we must come to the realization of trust and how important it is. And trust doesn't mean that the year ahead will be easy or that hard things won't come. This past year included blood tests, monitoring for cancer changes, a hospitalization, difficulty with our child and his medications and medical needs and advocating for him, the death of my dear brother-in-law, and watching my sister and her family walk through deep grief. It also resurfaced some old emotions tied to parenting during some of our most difficult seasons, almost tapping on some things that felt like PTSD. And yet, through all of it, God was faithful. He promised He would never leave us or forsake us, and that He would equip me for each step of the journey ahead. Yes, there were moments of self-doubt on our toughest parenting days. Yes, there were moments of fear, wondering if things would get worse or what if they don't improve the way I hoped. But even in those moments, I can look back now and see that I remained steadfast. I drew on the things that gave me strength and endurance. When the load grew heavy, I spent more time on my knees. When my soul felt weary, I leaned into more quiet time. And when worry began to crowd out gratitude, I became more intentional in looking for the blessings, even the tiny ones. Trust for me isn't about having fewer fears. It's really about knowing where I go when fear shows up. And this is where choosing a word for the year becomes such a meaningful part of this reset. A word for the year isn't about setting a goal or fixing what's broken. It's about choosing something that gently guides you when emotions run high, something you can return to when parenting feels heavy or uncertain. Last year, my word was steadfast. And looking back, I can see how deeply I needed that word. It carried me through tough seasons that required endurance, advocacy, and staying anchored when everything around me felt unstable. But as I step into this new year, I can feel a shift. Steadfast did its work. And not that I'm an expert at it now or that I've arrived, that I can do it perfectly, because that's not the case. But instead, I feel like I'm being invited to something different, a word that keeps coming to mind for this coming year. After much prayer, after reflecting, just thinking through some of the very questions that I'm going to share with you, the word that keeps coming to me is release. Release doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean caring less. It means setting down what was never meant for me to carry in the first place. For me, that looks like releasing self-doubt when parenting feels hard, releasing guilt when I feel stretched thin and I know I can't do it all, releasing the pressure to control outcomes that were never fully in my hands. Choosing the word release feels like an invitation to trust more deeply, to live with a lighter grip, and to make room for hope and joy instead of worry and fear. And that's what I want this coming year to be shaped by. Not pressure, not perfection, but intentional release. If you're listening today and feeling the weight of another year behind you, I want to invite you to pause and ask yourself one simple question. What do I need to carry forward, and what am I ready to set down? Your word doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be fancy or impress anyone. It just needs to be something that brings you back to calm when things feel hard. If you're open to it, here are just a few gentle questions you can sit with as you think about and maybe even journal, pray, and reflect on your word for the year. What felt most heavy for me this year? What am I ready to let go of as I move forward? What helped me feel calmer or more grounded when things were difficult? What do I want to be reminded of when big emotions show up? What word feels like permission rather than pressure? And if one word could gently guide your reactions, your thoughts, and your heart this year, what would it be? Now, you don't need to rush. You don't need to decide today. Let your word rise gently, not from striving and stressing, but from quiet awareness. As we come to the end of this episode and the end of this year, I want to remind you of this. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're not behind. You've walked through real life this year. Hard moments, growth moments, moments where you held steady, and moments where you simply held on. Reset isn't about fixing what went wrong. It's about honoring what you've walked through, releasing what no longer serves you, and trusting yourself and God as you step forward. Whatever this year held for you, I hope you'll take a moment to acknowledge both the triumphs and the missteps, the moments you celebrated and the moments you pulled back to protect your heart. As you move into the new year, may you carry forward what strengthened you and gently set down what was never meant for you to carry alone. Now, if today's episode has resonated with you, I have created a free downloadable reflection sheet to help you go deeper. It actually includes the reflection questions we just talked about, along with a few more. And there's also a list of 100 word ideas to help spark clarity if you're feeling stuck or unsure about what word to choose. Now remember, this isn't about choosing the perfect word. It's about finding one that brings you back to calm, perspective, and intention when parenting feels hard or when life feels challenging. You can download this reflection sheet using the link in the show notes, or come and get your copy inside the Calm Connection Parenting Facebook group. I encourage you to spend some time thinking, praying, reflecting as you choose a word to guide your way. And I also want you to know this. If you're stepping into the new year realizing you need more support, guidance, or clarity as you parent those challenging behaviors or emotional dysregulation, you don't have to do it alone. A new Calm Connection parent coaching group will be starting soon. We'll be opening enrollment with flexible payment plans and a limited number of scholarships as well. If you feel that nudge to be supported, to learn, and to grow alongside other parents who truly understand this journey, I'd love to walk that road with you. You can learn more about working with me at calmconnectionparenting.org. Let this be the year you move forward with intention, grace, and calm connection. And whatever word you choose, may it gently guide you back to who and what matters most. Happy New Year. That's it for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take a quick minute to follow and share it with a friend who's looking for tools to parent those big emotions? And don't forget to join the Calm Connection Parenting Facebook group. This is where I can connect with you and offer support as you walk this journey. All right, I'll let you decide whether to fluff or fold that laundry now. But I'll meet you back here next week. Until then, keep calm and parent on.